The Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, I started out as a correctional officer. Back in 1978, that was the requirement, prerequisite, so you had to work in the jail or corrections for approximately a year before you would be considered to go to the streets. So I've worked as a patrol officer, a training officer, a motorcycle officer. I was a patrol sergeant. I was a special investigator assigned to the city attorney's office. I've served as an assistant chief with my agency, a chief of human resources, and my last assignment was director of the Department of Corrections. Actually, yes. The educational component, our engagement with social media. Quite frankly, 25 years ago, really social media wasn't much. I mean, the internet was just now coming into play. And now most of the information that we're getting is very hands-on and spot on time, are very much timely, more so than what we've done in the past. But also with things like we're here this week with the educational seminars, we just didn't have those things back 25 years ago. Labor and legislative. Prior to being elected as the national secretary, I served for the past 3 years as the Florida State Lodge legislative chairman, where we were able to pass PTSD legislation for Florida's first responders. So that was very enlightening. But prior to that, I've negotiated over 100 collective bargaining agreements, primarily in the state of Florida, and very rewarding to do that. Well, you know, that's a great question. I was hired when I was 19 years of age with the sheriff's office, but I made my grandmother a promise that I would ultimately get my college degree. So I was taking courses, 1-2 classes as I could, depending on what shift I was on. And I had a professor at a junior college in Jacksonville, Dr. Fleming, that gave a course on civics or American politics. And the gist of that class in one of his lectures was, if you wanted to see change in your community or at the state level or at national level, you need to be involved in an organization, whether it be a labor organization, a political organization, or whatever. And that prompted me to investigate how I could be a part of that change. And the FOP was the medium to make that happen. Helping my brothers and sister members achieve more. And that's a very broad statement, I understand that. But their quality of life through the collective bargaining agreements that we were successful in, enabling them to better take care of their families and live better. The pension benefits that we've negotiated over the years, and most recently, our health care reform in our particular city. And as you know, we're working on the same type of programs on a more global nature, even though it's just nationally. But those are the type of things that are so fulfilling to see where you're helping your brother and sister officers. I want to see us make communications with the Secretary's office, especially with membership and per capita, more streamlined. I'd like to see us have a better system at registration when we go to various conferences, and even our voting procedures. But a lot of those things are going to take constitution and bylaw changes. And one of the things President Yos has challenged us to do is come up with those ideas to push us to make those things become reality, to better serve our members, especially in today's electronic age, if you will. So I think the programs are out there, the technology's out there. We just have to find a way to capture it, put it to best use for us, so that we still have the integrity of a lot of our old practices, but we're doing it based on what our members demand of us today. I want us to be the only police organization in America. I know that there's some competitors out there. We are the voice of law enforcement, But there's approximately 750,000 full-time law enforcement officers. All 750,000 need to be unified under the FOP. And I think we're going to do that. I see us also grooming the leaders for tomorrow. And that's important to us because, you know what? I need somebody taking care of me when I'm on the sidelines as an advisor. So that's exactly, that would be my long-term goal. I would believe that, many years ago, you didn't see the involvement that you do today, especially in our southern and western states. Unfortunately, many of those areas don't have legislative protections in place that many of our northern or northeastern states have. But what I've seen is, because of our educational programs and the hands-on experience, they're all doing labor. They're all doing their legislative work. They just have to do it a little smarter, and because they don't have the same protections. So I think that's probably one of the biggest things, because that used to not happen. Saw technology evolve. I mean, I remember, and right now, if the computer's ever crashed in my home agency, I can certainly write a report. I think that on the plus end, it made it more convenient for an officer not to have to write a general report and then a booking document. He writes one document, or she writes one document, and they can cut and paste and import. But you lose a little bit of that also, that communications with your street supervisor or other officers that are assisting you in doing that. So there's an advantage on one end, there's a disadvantage on the other. But the most radical change is this rhetoric going on in our country where there's this anti-police movement. Now, I don't think that that's really the majority. I think that's a very small minority of people. I think the majority of folks understand the great job that our men and women do every day, putting their lives on the line. But it is disheartening because you're seeing it more and more, and I believe the media plays a major part of that in playing it up and focusing in on those that are anti-police. And it's like they're a rebel without a cause. They're just angry, and we're a good target to be angry at. Well, probably first and foremost, one of our speakers here, past President Dick Boyd. Dewey Stokes obviously was a great mentor. Our dear friend Jerry Adnip, Ralph Orms, all of those men have played, or FOP leaders have impacted as to who I am within the order. As a young officer coming up and as a young president, I looked at the Philly Fives of the world, the Chicagos of Seven, the Nashville Five, looking to them for advice and counsel on how to make my lodge even better. And so I would have to mention it. And there's been so many more other people, but just popping out of my brain right now, I'd have to mention those. Well, I ran for national president at one point, wasn't successful. But my love and passion has always been the FOP, and to me, there is no higher honor than to be secretary. That's nothing against our president, but to me, the secretary is the unsung hero behind the scenes, the guy who puts the glue onto the paper, the person who's responsible for making everything just sort of kind of drive. And I talked it over with my family and my local lodge and my state lodge, and we decided to make that run, and I'm very happy that we did. I married my Sunday school sweetheart. We celebrate next week our 41st year of marriage. In my particular area in Jacksonville, she's known as Miss FOP, been right there beside me the whole time. I have two sons. My oldest son is a police detective with Jacksonville, Economic Crimes Division, and he took my place on the Police and Fire Pension Advisory Board. He's an FOP member as well, and he's also secretary of our Health Trust program. So I'm very proud of him. My other son, Kenny, works in sales with a furniture company out of St. Augustine, Florida. And I have, of course, two beautiful granddaughters by James and his wife. His wife, by the way, Kristen, is the accreditation manager for the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. So we're very proud of her, and she's part of the law enforcement family as well. Well, and that's an excellent question. When my sons were growing up, the FOP was their family. They were at all the events that we would do at my local level. They would travel to the state board meetings. They would travel with me also. My wife and the sons would travel to the various national conventions and board meetings that we would go to. And now what happens is the granddaughters have taken that role along with my wife. And the wife is with me at the national office just about every time I'm there, assisting also. Most recently with our membership cards going out. She stepped up because that's what she does. She understands the FOP and the importance of what we're doing, because it is a partnership. And she benefits also from the good works that we've done over the years. Well, the rollout of our app, I hope that gets accomplished, and I'm sure Brother Joe is on top of that, and he's going to push it very hard. I want to see that happen. I know that we're doing some internal tweaking and modifications to our email system and our electronic view system, membership system. So I want to see that be accomplished and pretty quick. We're looking at a different format for the journal, our quarterly publication. So we've got some fantastic ideas. We just met earlier exploring those, where it's a cost-saving measure for our members, but yet the information is out more timely, and we're not spending as much getting it out there. So I think all of those are some real short-term things that I'm excited to be a part of, but it's more of a board approach, and I see that happening. I see the board saying, yes, let's go in that direction, let's make it happen. My message would be, first of all, thank you for being a part of this FOP family. Keep doing what you're doing, dream big, get involved. Don't rely upon someone else to do it for you. You can make a difference. Help each other. Look, we're not each other's enemies. We're each other's keeper, brothers and sisters. So if you have grouches and grievances and you're grumpy, well, leave those behind. Come and be with us. Be a part of the greatest law enforcement organization in the world. Be a part of it, but reach high. Don't just accept the status quo. Don't accept that. Push for better things, but don't just sit back and complain. Be a part of it. Embrace it. Guarantee you, we'll put you to work doing something.